In this initial training video, we will present you the basic skills needed for working with the system. Included, we will cover adding contacts, editing contact information, including creating relationships with other contacts, working with work information and employee information for organizations. We also cover how to search for contacts and add donations. In this process, we will cover many configurations for both basic contacts, demographics, and all the various configurations needed for entering a donation, including recency, frequency, and amount groups, donation funds, programs, campaigns, and donation sources. To enter a contact into Nonprofit Easy, we can start by using the Quick Add menu here at the top, and just click on Add Individual or Add Organization, as desired. In this case, let's add an individual. This will bring up the basic Add Individual screen. The only two fields required on this screen are first name and last name. At which point, we can either click Save and Close, or Save and Add New to create a new contact. If we desire to put more information than this basic information to a contact's record, we can click Add More Information. This will then open the expanded Add Edit screen for a contact, where we can start creating relationships, entering emails, phones, and addresses. In addition, we have a variety of demographic information that we can start putting in a record. And later on, we'll show how to configure that. When you want to add an email, simply type it in, and the system will make sure that it's valid. Same with phone numbers. Just type in whatever phone number you wish to enter. If you wish to have multiple emails or phone numbers, click the Add button underneath, and it will allow you to add more. Or, to remove one, click the minus button over here. With emails and phone numbers, we also have some communication preferences. The first one being, when you have multiple emails or phone numbers, which one is the primary. Next, we can indicate which phone number or email we wish to use for communicating with this contact. This way you can indicate if one email is meant for communication and another is simply meant for reference. Lastly, whether an email or phone number is a household email or phone number, meaning that this email or phone number will be shared with other contacts who are in a household with this contact, such as a spouse or children. Beneath the phone section is the general communication preferences. This is where you can indicate whether someone prefers to be communicated to via phone, mail, or email. These will also set the preferences for donation acknowledgements, specifically send mail and send email. This brings us to physical addresses. The system has a variety of fields allowing you to track a variety of addresses. Mailing addresses for where you will mail someone, the billing address for any billing you might do towards them, seasonal addresses, temporary addresses, or other addresses. And then as before, we can add or subtract other addresses as desired. And when you're ready to save the contact, simply click the Save button down here at the bottom. In addition to basic contact information, demographics, and communications, we can link contacts together via relationships. We can do this easily enough in the Relationships section. Now this Relationships section is primarily meant for household members. If you want to add further relationships, including household relationships, we can go to the Relationship tab. On this tab, we can create any relationship we want. But let's start by creating a spousal relationship. So we're going to go down here and click on Create Relationship. Throughout the system, you'll find that whenever you want to create something, whether it's a new configuration or an entry on a screen, there'll be a Create, Add, or New button down in the right-hand corner. Further, this is where you will find Save buttons. We call this the action bar, because it's where we take actions. So let's go ahead and take action and create a relationship. So we start by saying who we want to create a relationship with. So let's say it's Jenny. Well, if Jenny had already existed in this system, her name would show up in a drop-down. At this time, she doesn't exist in this system. So I'm going to click Out, and the system is going to ask me if I would wish to create a contact named Jenny Broder. I'm going to say yes and click Individual because she's an individual contact. It's going to automatically fill in Jenny and Broder in the first and last name, and then from here I can fill in some more basic information. Later on, if I want to fill in more advanced information for her record, I would go in and edit it. Let's go ahead and save and close. So now, Jenny Broder is what relationship to Ben? Well, they are spouses. These relationships come configured with the system, but you can create more, and we'll cover that a little bit later on. Next, we're going to indicate whether or not they live in the same household. So if they're in the same household, generally speaking, they will share the same physical address, allowing us to send one piece of mailing for both people. So let's start by going, they're part of the same household, yes. And then from here, we'd have the option of selecting which emails, phones, and addresses will be shared between them. At this time, I have no such information in Ben or Jenny's record, so I have nothing to share. If I had, I would simply select that which I wish to share, and then when I'm done, I will hit save. In this case, it's allowing me to create a relationship between Jenny and any of Ben's other relationships, or vice versa. In this case, neither has any such relationships, so there's nothing to do here, and I can close. So here we have Jenny, who is the spouse of Ben. And then I can create any further relationships I wish. If I wish to edit a relationship, I can click on the Edit button here on the right. Or if I wish to delete one, click on the drop-down and select Delete. This is another consistency you will find throughout the system. If you wish to edit or delete or take some sort of other action against an entry, you will just go to the right and click Edit or use the drop-down to select that other action. Now that we've created a relationship between two individuals, let's talk about the relationship between an individual and a company or organization. Within a contacts record, we have work information. This is where we can indicate where someone works or has worked in the past. So as before, to create the connection between this individual and their work, we go down to the action bar and click Add. Now, we start typing in the name of the organization. So, here we have him working for the Moria Institute for Peace and Prosperity. Notice I started typing in, and a drop-down appears with that contact. So this contact already exists within the system. I created it previously. So I can go ahead and select it. If it had not already existed, I could go ahead and type that name in, fill in the information for the organization, and be presented with a choice. If I simply save it as is, it will create effectively simply a note in this contact's record that they work for a particular organization. However, if I mark Add as Organization Contact, it will create a contact record for that organization. So let's bring that organization back up. And now we simply selected that which we already had. Further, we can say what Ben's job title at the organization is, what you might contact him for at that organization, especially useful if you have multiple individuals in your database who work at a single organization, and whether or not he's currently working there. So let's say that he currently is. And then when I'm done, we will hit save. So now the connection has been made, and we can return back to work information with the back button. Once again, that back button is consistent throughout the system and will take you back to the previous screen you are on. And here we have where Ben works, and we can expand that for a little further information. And as before, edit and delete. Well, now that we've made a basic contact record, we've linked it with another individual, we've added information, we've linked it with an organization. Now it's time to search for contacts. So to search for a contact, we can simply click on the search field up above, type in a name, say Eric, and hit enter. This will then bring up all contacts that meet that description, or if only one contact can meet that description, it will bring it up instantly. From here, we can edit the contact and get that edit screen we were on previously. If we want to run a more advanced search, we can once again click on the search icon and click on Advanced Search. From here, we have a couple of options. We could run a previous search, and how this will work is we will type in the name of our search that we previously saved, and like when selecting contacts, we will get a drop-down of all searches that meet the name that we entered in. Or, if we have not saved a search and we wish to save this search, we can go ahead and enter a name for this search. All individuals. We can also make a search private, meaning that only you as a user can use, see, or edit this search. This is a way to keep your search list tidier. Now, on the left, we will go ahead and say what we're interested in. So we can look for people with a certain contact ID, first name, last name, organization name, so on and so forth. Or we could say, I want to see all individuals with this certain information. We can also look for more advanced criterion. So for example, we could look for all contacts with a certain smart tag, or donor information, or address information. So we could say, I want to see everybody who's in California. So state is California. You'll pick your criteria, an appropriate operator, and a value. You can then add additional criterion. You can add subgroups, and you can determine your matching. Match all means all the rules that you've added must be true. Any means only one must be true. Subgroups allow you to have nested groups of matching. So this would require that this be true and only one of the criteria within this section be true. And then we can delete a criteria as well if needed. When you're ready to run your search, saving it, if you've given it a name, hit search. Once you've run your search, you'll be presented with a contact list of all contacts that meet your criteria. As we discovered earlier, if we wish to edit a contact, we can just click on the edit button over on the right for their entry. We can also take mass action. So for example, we could select all the contacts here, use the Take Action dropdown, and send them all an email. Or assign a custom contact type, or record an interaction or task. Now before we continue, let's talk a little bit about a configuration, because there's some configurations we will need in order to proceed with donation entry. So let us go to the main menu up in the right-hand corner and go to Configurations. On the configuration screen, you will find all available configurations within the system. A configuration is anything that will create an entry that you can choose from within the system. Here, we will be able to edit all the demographics that we previously may have used, such as ethnicity, relationship types, smart tags, housing status, so on and so forth. We can also customize prefixes, suffixes, phone types, email types, and a variety of other options. To edit any one of these, let's start with the basic demographic options, such as prefixes. Here, to create another prefix, we just type in the name of the prefix we're interested in and hit Add. As before, we discovered we can edit and delete over on the right. This basic functionality will work with prefixes, suffixes, all the basic demographics, and a few other items. To quickly get back to a place we may have been, we can actually use the menu over here on the left. So for example, if I now want to edit relationship types, I can simply click on Relationship Types. Alternatively, I could have used the main menu to get back to configurations. Relationship types, just like the other, fill in the information you require and hit Add. Now let's look at the more complicated configurations that we will need for entering donations. So let's go ahead and go back to configurations. All donation-related configurations will be under gifts. And let's start by talking about amount groups, frequency groups, and recency groups. Amount groups represent categories that donors can fit in based on their giving. In this case, we will configure it based on their average giving. So start by selecting how you want to calculate their amount and click Update. Next, we will give a code to each level that we create, a description, and the amount range. So for example, this entry I have right here means that a bronze donor is any donor who has an average gift amount between $1 and $250. I could create another level using code 2, call them a silver donor, and they are between 251 and 500, and then click Add. Next, let's talk about frequency groups. A frequency group is how often a donor donates. In this case, I have already created a one-time donor group for donors who have donated only one time. To create a new frequency group, let's go down to the action bar and click Add Frequency Group. Here, I will once again create a code that must be unique. I will give a description 2 times, and I give my range 2 to 2. If I had wanted this to be 2 to 5, I would have started with a range of 2 and ended with a range of 5. And then when done, hit save. Next, we will talk about recency groups. Recency groups describe how recently a donor has donated to your organization, measured in either days, months, or years. Here, I have created 3 levels: this year, last year, and 2 years ago. Let us create a new level by clicking on Add New Recency Group in the action bar. In this case, let's find all those who have donated in the last 30 days. So, we will need a unique code, let's say 30, a description, and a range. Since this will be days, we'll start with 0, which would be today, and end at 30 days ago. And then we select our range increment of day, month, or year. This would be 30 days, this would be 30 months, and this would be 30 years. Once you have set all the information, simply click Save. Now, we have this year, last year, 2 years ago, and within the last 30 days. For amount, frequency, and recency groups, it is permissible to allow them to overlap as needed. Now that we have created our recency, frequency, and amount groups, which will be used for various demographics and reporting, we now move on to programs. Programs, in brief, represent those things that your organization does. They may be a part of your mission statement. They may be a part of your daily operations. Examples include education programs, scholarship programs, events, or a myriad of other examples. In this case, I have a program for art classes and one for scholarship program. A program may be expressed through events that you put on or supported through donations that come in. So let us create a new program with Add New Program. We'll start by giving our program a title. In this example, let's go with exhibitions, which would represent, for example, a museum's exhibitions that they would put on. Next, if we want, this could be a sub-program of a parent program. So for example, after creating exhibitions, individual exhibitions might be sub-programs. We will then put a start date. This represents the date that this program started at your organization and can be backdated as needed. If your program has come to an end, or you know when the program will come to an end, you may set an end date, though this is not required. These are the basic configurations for programs, though there are some others that we can use. At this time, I will not be using them, but do know that you can set fundraising goals for programs, allowing you to track those goals. Now that I have the basic information of title and start date, I'm going to go ahead and save and return to the program list. Many things will spring from your programs, and one of them is campaigns. Campaigns are used to support programs or your organization as a whole. So let's configure a campaign. Campaigns represent your fundraising efforts. And as mentioned, they could be meant to support a specific program or used to support your organization as a whole. Many organizations have at least one campaign, which would be their annual appeal, often at the end of the year, sometimes called an end of a year appeal. They may also come under the title of capital campaign. Different organizations will configure their campaigns differently based on their needs, just as their programs. Let's go ahead and create a campaign called End of Year Appeal 2014. We'll start by clicking on Add New Campaign. As with program, we will give a title, and if we desire, we can specify chart of accounts or classes, though those are not required. What is required is we must specify a start date and an end date for our campaign. This represents the date range in which this campaign is active. Let us specify the beginning of December of 2014 till the end of January of 2015. Now, as with programs, we have done all that is required to have campaigns available. If we wish, we can continue and set fundraising goals. We can do this by setting a start date, an end date, and the goal amount. Further, we may set campaign rules. dictating between what dates, what funds, which we have yet to configure, this campaign will be tied to. So now this brings us to the topic of funds. Funds are how we will record donations, either in relation to programs or on their own. For example, if you have a scholarship program, you will most likely have one or more scholarship funds that donors can donate through to support your program. Programs may also be supported through events or membership fees or dues. But in this scenario, we are talking about donations. Here I've already configured several donation funds called Event Sponsorship, General Donations, Scholarship Fund, and Unrestricted Funds. Your organization may or may not use these. Many organizations will, however, use at least unrestricted funds to indicate those funds which are not tied to any particular program. To create a new fund, we will go to Add New Fund. We will give a code that is unique for this fund, a name for this fund. We can then also link it to a chart of accounts or class, and we will indicate whether or not this fund is to be used for calculating recency, frequency, and amount groups. Though the default is no, the recommendation is yes. Next, if this fund is tied to our particular program or campaign, you may indicate that in the Get Provided dropdowns. By default, all funds will allow you to put any amount greater than 0. However, if you wish to have fixed finite amounts as options when doing data entry, you can create them with set contribution amounts. Give a description for your contribution amount this level will be for, and how much of it is tax deductible. To add further contribution amounts, click the Add button. To delete one you've already created, select Delete. These are basically precursors to ask arrays. When you have completed creating your fund, click Save. Or, if you wish to create your acknowledgement templates, click on Save and Proceed. Acknowledgement Setup allows you to specify what acknowledgement templates will be used with this fund, so that when you enter a donation, a letter is automatically generated ready for you to print or email within Donation Acknowledgement. In this case, I have selected templates for the primary donor, soft credit donor, and any tributes. If you have not already created templates ahead of time, you can create them with Create New. If you wish to see all your templates, edit, or create more, from the main menu, under Communications, you can go to Manage Templates. Or, to send your acknowledgements, go to Send Acknowledgements. After you have set your templates, click on Save, and you can return to the Fund screen. Now that we've created programs, campaigns, funds, and our recency, frequency, and amount groups, there's only one more configuration that we need to do in order to enter donations, and that is our gift source. Gift sources represent the channel by which you receive a donation. These may include receiving them by mail, online, in person, or through a peer-to-peer fundraising platform such as Team Raise Easy. To create a new source, simply enter your code, give it a description, and click the Add button. Now that we have created our recency, frequency, and amount groups, programs, campaigns, funds, and gift sources, we're ready to enter a donation. An easy way to do this is with the Quick Add menu and clicking on Add Gift. As with adding a contact quickly, we get a basic Add Gift screen. Here, we have a couple of required fields we must enter. The first is our contact. Let's use Ben from earlier. The fund under which we wish to record this donation. This is a scholarship donation. The source that this donation came in through. We received this online. The date the donation was received. This is the date that the donor will be allowed to count for their tax purposes. The amount of the donation. And the mode of payment. Receipt number can be used for recording the check number, physical cash register receipt number, or credit card transaction number. Further, we can assign soft credit to other contacts. Assigning soft credit represents giving credit to contacts whom do not get to actually count the donation for tax purposes, but whom you wish to recognize as a part of this donation. This will also record them as a donor. By default, we will see all contacts whom have a relationship with our primary donor. And we can select them by simply checking the box next to their name. If we need to create a relationship with the primary donor that doesn't already exist, we can do so by selecting that contact, selecting the relationship, indicating if they are in a household, and clicking the Add button. At this point, we can go ahead and save this donation by going Save and Add New to add more donations, Save and Close to save the screen and close it, or Save and Send Acknowledgement, which will take us directly into the acknowledgement screen. Or, if we wish to add more advanced information, add more information. Using the Add More Information screen, we have a variety of other information we can enter for a donation. This is where we will be presented with our gift amounts we created earlier for our fund. We can enter a gift memo or note. We can continue to assign soft credit. And we can assign tribute. Tribute is generally specified by the donor themselves and can include on behalf of, in memory of, or in honor of. Let's go ahead and say this donation is in honor of another contact. We can go ahead and select that contact, as we could it for anything else, or we can put it name only. Name only is helpful when you wish to give tribute to a contact, but do not wish to add that contact to your database. Further, when recording tribute, we can send a tribute card. A tribute card allows us to let the tributee or their family know that a donation was made in tribute of the tributee. Here, we will select a template. If you have not already previously created a template for your template card, as with funds, you can create one now. Next, we specify the recipient of this tribute card. And here, as before, we can either select an existing contact in the system, or we can enter name-only information for that tribute recipient. Further, we can record miscellaneous details about the donation, including the program the donation is to be tied to, if the fund has not already been tied to a program, the campaign the donation can be tied to, as before, if the fund has not already specified this, and who solicited this donation. This will usually be a staff or a board member at your organization. And then lastly, we can record any images for this donation, such as a scanned copy of the donation form or check. When we have finished entering all of our donation information, we can go ahead and hit save. Our donation is now recorded, and Ben Broder is now considered a donor. Anytime you enter a donation into the system or record an event, you'll be creating an invoice. Here, our invoice is already complete. If you wish to see an invoice that has not been completed, i.e. has not been paid, you can actually click on the invoice icon here at the top and see all unpaid invoices. And that concludes the bulk of our training. You now know how to add contacts, edit contact information, add contact information, link contacts together via relationships or work information, search for contacts, configure basic demographics and donation configurations, as well as enter donations for contacts. While these skills will aid you in getting started with Nonprofit Easy, they're not the end of all skills that you may want. For more information, please check out the tutorials we make available online or one of our free webinars. Or, if you have questions, you can always email us at support@nonprofiteasy.com.